Museum returns. Just outside of Detroit, the world-famous Henry Ford Museum is an awe-inspiring repository of engineering marvels. As you make your way through 9 acres of automotive Americana, tucked away in the northwest corner is an artifact that looks nothing like a Mustang or a Model T. In fact, it wasn't designed by Henry Ford at all. A round, metallic structure, this massive object could easily pass for a flying saucer or even an alien relic. But it's not ripped from the pages of science fiction, nor is it a flying machine. Fireproof, flood-resistant, and able to withstand earthquakes. It is one man's vision of the home of the future. It's called the Dymaxion House.
It's shiny, it's circular, it's got a peaked roof. Nothing about the exterior appearance of this house suggests a house other than windows, perhaps.
Conceived in the 1920s as an inexpensive prefab dwelling, the ultra-modern house features innovations that were well ahead of their time. Space-saving rotating shelves, waterless toilets that would shrink-wrap waste for composting, downdraft ventilation that naturally filtered dust and impurities from the interior air.
The Dymaxion House. He is a precursor of much of the thinking we now have in the arena of environmentalism.
This invention could have changed the way we live as significantly as the motor car or assembly line. So why didn't it? Why aren't we all living in one of these amazing homes today? The answer lies in the genius of the Dymaxion House's designer, the eccentric inventor named Buckminster Fuller.
He had interesting ways of looking at things. Any idea was worthy of some kind of investigation. Sometimes it's architectural, sometimes it's transportation. Many of Fuller's far-fetched ideas still have an appeal.
1945. Buckminster Fuller is a self-made inventor and architect, obsessed with finding innovative solutions for society's needs. He would go on to design the geodesic dome and pen several books on sustainable living, popularizing the phrase, "Spaceship Earth." But up until now, he's had very little success bringing his plans to life. But history is about to hand him a golden opportunity to make his name immortal. As millions of American soldiers return from the battlefields of World War II, the country faces a massive housing shortage, and Fuller has a solution. A design he's been developing for 20 years. The Dymaxion House.
It's designed to be readily transportable. It's designed to be lightweight, but it sits on a very, very small foundation.
Fuller's house is cheap, easy to assemble, and can be put anywhere. The Dymaxion House is the right invention at the right time.
We know that there was actually a very, very positive reaction. An awful lot of inquiries came in regarding the cost and availability and pre-orders.
So why does the Dymaxion House live in a museum and not on every one of our city streets?
Fuller's visionary, that's part of the problem. Visionaries are often very good at getting things started, but not necessarily in sustaining them.
Fuller secures the backing of a group of investors, but he cannot resist tinkering with his design.
There's no getting around the fact he liked problem solving. People hid stuff when they saw him coming into the plant because they knew there'd be just one more adjustment.
1946. After months of delays and frustration, Fuller and his investors part ways. Production of the new American home grinds to a halt, and instead, the country builds millions of new square homes for its returning GIs. Buckminster Fuller's vision of the future, an America of shiny dome Dymaxion homes, is destroyed. all that remains is one intriguing example of what might have been.
This is the sole surviving Dymaxion house. So this is it. You want a Dymaxion house? You're going to have to come here and look around this one.
While the Ford Museum in Dearborn may be the only place to see a Dymaxion house, if you want to see the Mona Lisa, you don't have to travel to Paris. You can see this masterpiece right here in the United States at the Walters Museum of Art in Baltimore, Maryland. Could this possibly be the original? That's coming up next on Mysteries at the Museum. The Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci's most enduring masterpiece. For centuries, she has enticed art lovers with her mysterious smile.
I would say that the Mona Lisa is one of the world's most famous works of art. And it's just the enigmatic expression, I think, that really draws people in. It leaves us wondering who this lady is. What is she smiling about, if she is indeed smiling? And it's a mystery.
Most people believe the Mona Lisa hangs in the Louvre in Paris. But for decades, rumors abounded that the real Mona Lisa actually rests here, at the Walters Museum of Art in Baltimore, Maryland. Could this painting be the original? The mystery of the Walters Art Museum's Mona Lisa begins a century ago when the museum's founder, Henry Walters, purchased a copy of the Mona Lisa in a London auction.
Henry Walters acquired the painting in 1909 at an auction in London through an agent. And at the time, in the auction catalog, the painting is referred to simply as Leonardo da Vinci, Portrait of Mona Lisa.
So why do some people believe that the original Mona Lisa now hangs in Baltimore? Could they somehow have been swapped? The answer lies in one of the most shocking art thefts in history. Paris, August 21st, 1911. A man named Vincenzo Peruggia, an ex-employee of the Louvre Museum in Paris, does the unthinkable. Under the cover of night, he steals the Mona Lisa.
He was a man who believed that this piece was an Italian national treasure, and he saw it as his duty to take it back to Italy.
For 2 whole years, the famous painting is lost to the world. And it is during these dark days that rumor and mystery surrounding Da Vinci's painting spreads across the world. Some believe an Argentinian con man masterminded the theft so that he could sell illicit buyers near-perfect forgeries. At one point, Pablo Picasso is questioned in the theft because of his relationship to an alleged suspect. Finally, in 1913 in Florence, Italy, Vincenzo Peruggia attempts to sell the Mona Lisa, or what he claims to be the Mona Lisa, to Italian officials. Instead, he is promptly arrested. The painting in his possession goes back to the Louvre. But did the authorities recover the right Mona Lisa? In this tumultuous period of international art dealing, is it possible that Walter's 1909 copy, held in his private collection, was somehow switched with the stolen original?
The theory had been put forward that possibly a substitution had been made.
100 years later, using modern science, the curators at the Walters have a definitive way to answer these fantastic speculations.
What the X-rays do is show the insides, the workings of how the paintings were put together.
And these X-rays show something completely unexpected.
One of the most fascinating aspects of this painting is not on the surface, but what's underneath.
The image on the X-ray was really remarkable because it was a complete other painting. We saw a version of St. Veronica holding the veil of Christ.
The painting of Saint Veronica is attributed to a French artist named Simon Vouet. Most importantly, curators date Vouet's work to the 1630s, more than a century after Da Vinci painted the original Mona Lisa.
So the artist reused this painting to repaint a copy of the Mona Lisa.
Whatever doubt has swirled around this Mona Lisa has been conclusively put to bed. The painting at the Walters is not the original.
We would love to own the Mona Lisa, but unfortunately we do not. The original version is in the Louvre.
Authentic or not, the subtle expression of the woman in this painting is masterful enough to make museum goers stop and wonder what secrets lie behind her timeless smile. Mona Lisas and mermaids. Heroic deeds. Daring escapes. Homes of the future and treasures of the past. Amazing objects, each guarding an incredible secret. These are the mysteries at the museum.
China has been booming for the past 30 years.
Generations of scholars tried to explain the incomprehensible. In the search for the origin of matter, the boundaries between science and philosophy became blurred. Over 2,000 years ago, Greek philosophers, attempting to explain the mysteries of nature, hit on a concept that was to change the world, the concept of the atom, the smallest irreducible building block of nature. But evidence of the existence of atoms was a long time coming. 2,000 years later, the natural world was closely observed and was found to obey laws. Natural phenomena could be explained, described, and sometimes predicted. Analytical minds went one step further. Experiments were devised, nature was expressed in figures, modern scientific procedure was born. One of the pioneers of modern science was John Dalton, whose work put the concept of the atom on a scientific footing. Unlike the Greeks, who first suggested the atom's existence, he was not prepared to speculate and leave it at that. With the help of a pair of scales, he set out to discover the laws of chemical reactions. Dalton defined the elements as matter consisting of distinct uniform atoms, particles identical in size and atomic weight. He represented the atoms as circles. In chemical reactions, he claimed, atoms themselves were not changed, they were merely rearranged. How atoms were linked was something Dalton could only speculate about. There was no way he could see them. But even at that time, the size of an atom could be deduced from the thickness